supposed to hate Harry and Meghan again today because the house that the Queen, the late Queen, gifted them, and upon which Harry spent £2.3 million of his own money, has now been confiscated by King Charles. So imagine if you were writing this story from a point of view of not having had your brain boiled by the fact that Prince Harry fell in love with a woman of colour, right? So just pretend that the world hadn't been redefined, or your attitude to the royal family hadn't been redefined by right-wing media apoplectic about the fact that Prince Harry turned the entire pyramid of privilege in this country on his head by falling in love with an actual woman of colour, right? So, and King Charles was currently much more under attack than his sons, okay? Because he used to be very much under attack for the appalling way in which his late wife and Prince Harry's mum was treated, and indeed the way in which the now Queen was insinuated into public life, having her reputation completely rehabilitated thanks to collusion with newspapers, which was, I think seeing her sit down for a meal with Jeremy Clarkson shortly before Jeremy Clarkson wrote that article about Meghan Markle, which reports today suggest might see him deemed surplus to requirements over at ITV, tells you everything you need to know about the nature of those relationships and those quid pro quos. So just imagine that Charles was persona non grata with the right-wing media, and that he had betrayed. This is how you'd write it. Charles betrays his late mother's wishes by depriving Harry of a home in England's green and pleasant land. I'd add that bit as well, a little bit of William Blake there. You can almost hear Hubert Parry tuning up in the background. Cruel Charles, callous Charles. I can't quite get the alliteration. Just sounds a tricky. Cheesy doesn't work. So cruel Charles betrays. Cruel Charles betrays late Queen's wishes by stealing Harry's home. Second line. Harry and Meghan denied place in England's green and pleasant land by jealous parent. You see how it would work? Because the Queen gave them a house and he's taken it away. So betraying the late Queen's wishes. That is how Churlish Charles, thank you. Churlish Charles? Yeah, Churlish Charles. It's tricky that, because you're weighing up the alliteration with the stronger adjective. So cruel Charles is much stronger. Churlish Charles. Churlish Charles works pretty well, actually. Churlish Charles steals Harry's house. There it is. Churlish Charles steals Harry's house. Second line, late Queen cruelly betrayed by brutal eviction. That's the story, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Churlish Charles has stolen Harry's house. The late Queen wanted him to have it. He spent 2.3 million quid tarting it up, and money he repaid actually to the public purse after stepping down from royal duties. And lo and behold, Charles has demonstrated according to newspapers, he's demonstrated, let me tell you what the Daily Mail have to say about it, because we could always do with a laugh. Charles evicting Harry and Meghan from Frogmore is the act of a king putting his country first. I love showing you how twisted the media is, because if you're not an anorak like me, you probably don't notice. So that headline could easily be exactly the same story. Churlish Charles steals Harry's house. Late Queen betrayed by brutal eviction. That exactly the same story, right? But the invitation to hate in recent years has involved Harry and Meghan, because much of the British media continues to favour a man who paid millions of pounds to a sex trafficking victim who accused him of multiple sex crimes than it does to a man who had the audacity to fall in love with a woman of colour. We've got it. Callous King. Callous King steals Harry's house. That's come from Grant. He's doing a shift as a sub-editor today. Home is better than house, thank you. We're doing this together. Callous King steals Harry's home. Brutal betrayal of late Queen's wishes. That's it, right? Callous King steals Harry's home. Brutal betrayal of late Queen's wishes. And then you'd have people like Amanda Platel writing articles about how terrible. He's trampling upon the grave of his beloved mother. It's so awful. It's just pathetic. It is absolutely, it's the infantilization of a nation. I mean, it's been underway for hundreds of years, but occasionally the absurdity, the hypocrisy, the base corruption of it is so irresistible that it can't help sticking its head above the parapet. Callous King steals Harry's home. There it is. So, sorry, that was just a little diversion into who the invitation to hate is being issued to. Who are we supposed to hate today, Keith? Harry and Meghan again, James. Okay, thank you.
King Charles pulled one of the most tone-deaf moves in modern royal history, evicting Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex from Frogmore Cottage, the home that was personally gifted to them by the late Queen. Yes, you heard that right. The same property the Queen gave her beloved grandson, the same home Harry spent his own £2.3 million renovating, and the same home he paid back to the public purse after stepping away from royal duties, has now been taken back by his own father. Apparently, this is what modern monarchy looks like. Imagine being kicked out of your house not because you did something wrong, but because the tabloids need a new headline that says, "Harry and Meghan are to blame." Again. It's like clockwork. Every time the public mood toward the royals dips, the media dusts off its favourite scapegoats and declares, "You're supposed to hate Harry and Meghan today." But let's call this what it is, a royal PR stunt dressed up as duty. According to some British tabloids, this was the act of a strong king, putting his country first. Really? Since when does evicting your son count as an act of national service? If that's leadership, then Cruella de Vil was just trying to support the fashion industry. What's really happening here is the same pattern we've seen for years. Punish Harry and Meghan Sussex for refusing to play palace politics, because nothing offends the firm more than independence. They didn't just step down from royal duties, they stepped out of line. And for the institution, that's unforgivable. The late Queen gifted Frogmore Cottage as a symbol of love and support. She wanted her grandson and his wife to have a private place of their own, away from the toxic media circus. That gesture spoke volumes. But now Charles has effectively undone one of his mother's final acts of kindness. It's as if he's rewriting her legacy to fit his own fragile ego. And let's be honest, if this were any other family, we'd call it what it is, cold, petty and hypocritical. But because it's the royal family, the press calls it strategic. Strategic for what exactly? To remind the world that forgiveness doesn't run in royal blood? Now, let's imagine for a second how the same story would look if the media wasn't hopelessly biased. The headline could easily read, "Callous King betrays late Queen's wishes by evicting son." Or even better, "Heartless monarch repossesses gift given in good faith." That's the truth. But of course, truth doesn't sell papers. Scandal does. The same tabloids that spent decades tearing Princess Diana apart are now praising Charles for restoring order. The same media that mourned the people's princess now trashes her son for daring to honour her spirit. The hypocrisy is Olympic level. These outlets don't want peace in the royal family. They want chaos to feed their headlines. Let's not forget who the media doesn't attack. Prince Andrew, yes, that one, who paid millions to settle with a woman accusing him of sexual abuse, somehow manages to keep his taxpayer-funded security and housing. Yet Harry, who served in Afghanistan and built the Invictus Games, gets stripped of protection and a home. Make that make sense. And while we're talking double standards, let's talk about how the press spins this eviction as some kind of heroic act. You'll see phrases like "putting the monarchy first" and "a necessary decision for stability." Translation: we can't criticise the king, so let's drag Harry and Meghan again. They're treating eviction like a virtue. Meanwhile, Charles looks less like a father and more like a royal landlord on a power trip. You know what's really threatening the monarchy? Not Harry and Meghan, but the monarchy's own refusal to evolve. Instead of focusing on service and modern values, they're still obsessed with hierarchy and image. Harry and Meghan Sussex represent progress, empathy, diversity, independence. That's why the establishment is terrified of them. Let's not forget, Harry didn't just leave the royal family for nothing. He left because the institution protected the media before it protected his wife. He left because they couldn't stomach the idea of a biracial duchess shining brighter than their golden boy. That's the real reason for all this bitterness. Meghan wasn't supposed to thrive. She was supposed to play quiet, compliant and grateful. But she refused, and now they're still punishing her for it. Meanwhile, the tabloids act like Harry and Meghan are living off royal money, when in reality they've built an entirely self-sufficient life. Deals with Netflix, Spotify, Archewell Foundation, all on their own terms. They've taken the royal brand and turned it into something meaningful. That's what infuriates the palace and the press alike. Independence is blasphemy when you're supposed to bow to the system. And the timing of this eviction couldn't be more symbolic. It's not just about a house, it's about power, control, and humiliation. It's Charles's way of sending a message. You can't leave and still be respected. It's a warning shot to anyone in the family thinking of breaking ranks. But it's backfired spectacularly, because instead of making Harry and Meghan look weak, it's exposed the monarchy's insecurity. Let's also talk about that infamous Jeremy Clarkson connection. Remember, Charles had lunch with Clarkson right before that disgusting article about Meghan, where he fantasized about her being paraded naked through the streets? Yeah, that guy. And instead of condemning him, Charles apparently thought it was fine to share a meal. So when people wonder why Harry keeps his distance, this is why. The hypocrisy is staggering. The palace preaches dignity and duty, yet cozies up to people who publicly degrade Meghan. And you know what the funniest part is? Despite everything, despite being vilified, chased by paparazzi, stripped of titles, and now evicted, Harry and Meghan Sussex are still winning. They're thriving in California, surrounded by positivity, raising their kids in peace, doing meaningful work, and showing the world that success doesn't require a crown. Every project they launch, every public appearance they make, reminds people that decency and purpose still exist beyond palace walls. The British media can't stand that. They're allergic to Harry and Meghan's happiness because it proves you don't need royal approval to matter. They'd rather sell misery than admit that love and freedom can coexist with royalty. So they keep pushing this tired narrative that Harry regrets leaving, that Meghan is manipulating him, that California life is crumbling. It's nonsense. If happiness bothers you that much, maybe the problem isn't them, it's you. Let's also remember that the Queen adored Harry. She trusted him, and that trust was mutual. She knew he'd never dishonour her legacy. The only person betraying her memory right now is the man undoing her generosity. Taking back Frogmore Cottage isn't about space, it's about spite. It's about rewriting the narrative so Charles can appear powerful after being overshadowed for years. But no matter how many homes he reclaims or headlines he plants, one truth remains. Harry and Meghan Sussex left with their dignity intact. They refused to let the institution define their worth. And that's what truly infuriates the establishment. You can strip a man of titles, you can take back his house, but you can't erase integrity. At the end of the day, it's not about royal duty or national pride. It's about basic humanity. A father should never treat his son like a PR liability. A king should never prioritize optics over family. And a media empire should never profit off cruelty. Yet here we are, watching history repeat itself. Only this time, it's Diana's son on the receiving end. So, the next time you see headlines screaming, "Harry betrays the crown," remember what's really going on. It's not betrayal, it's liberation. It's a man choosing peace over palace politics, and a woman choosing love over lies. That's something worth celebrating, not condemning. And as for King Charles, well, maybe he should worry less about who lives at Frogmore and more about who's still living rent-free in the public's mind. Because no matter how hard he tries to erase their influence, Harry and Meghan's legacy is already cemented in compassion, authenticity, and courage. So, what do you think, Unfiltered Squad? Was Charles right to take away the home his mother gifted her grandson, or is this just another royal PR disaster in a long line of them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get this conversation going. And if you love hearing real talk, the kind that cuts through the royal spin, don't forget to subscribe to Sussexes Unfiltered for more unfiltered truth, humour and heart. We don't do palace-approved narratives here. We do honesty. See you in the next one.